Hello Gr12, my name is Priscilla SANELANE. You may simply call me Miss Priscilla, and today we are preparing for the Economics Paper 2 upcoming examination. In this video, we are going to be looking at last minute preparations that you need to do for you to be able to bridge the gap of what you have now and what can get you to a place where you are comfortable and confident to get into the examination room and write your paper. Now this is going to be the very final video in the exam prep series that we are doing for the May-June examinations, so make sure that you are taking full advantage of it. Additionally to that, we also have a last virtual class to help us prepare for the examination, and that is going to be on Monday the 23rd. That is the day before the second chance matrix, right there, paper 2. So if you are in the class of 2025 and you also haven't written your paper 2, you are more than welcome to join us. But most specifically, if you're in the second chance matric, that would be the class specifically for you. And here's more on the details of how you can join us. The good news is I now offer once-off live virtual classes to help you with your last-minute preparations for your exam papers. The timetable you are looking at shows you the upcoming virtual class date so that you can book for your papers accordingly. Booking your session is very simple and affordable. All you have to do is send me an email on the email address you are seeing on the screen, and on the subject line write exam prep. Now let's come up with a study plan that can help you maximize this weekend and make sure that when you leave that exam room on Tuesday, you will leave it feeling very confident in what you wrote. So here's the study plan for this weekend. You have only this weekend and Monday to make sure that you maximize and bridge the gap for paper 2. Unfortunately, it is a reality of many students that you only start preparing for paper 2 after you have written paper 1. And if there isn't enough time between paper 1 and paper 2, then that usually means that you haven't done much as far as paper 2 is concerned. So what do you do to make sure that this weekend you can prepare to the utmost ability for your paper 2? First of all, the exam strategy that I do recommend is that you focus on microeconomics, meaning that you are going to use this weekend to study microeconomics. In microeconomics, we have three topics rather. We have perfect markets, imperfect markets, as well as market failure. So those are going to be the topics that you spend majority of the time that you have this weekend and on Monday focusing on. And then you will also use some of the time that you have left to make sure that when it comes to the topic of contemporary economic issues, you do a research. By research, I basically mean that you study in a way that gives you knowledge of what the inflation is, because under contemporary economic issues, remember, we are talking about inflation, tourism, as well as environmental sustainability. So I say research in that I mean that walk into the exam room understanding what inflation is, what causes it, what the effects of it are, and what is tourism, what its effects are on the economy, as well as environmental sustainability. That way, you will be able to bridge the gap in the knowledge that you have for contemporary economic issues when it comes to section A, and if you also choose question 4, but otherwise you focus on microeconomics. So let's look at now what are the focus areas that you're going to focus on when it comes to microeconomics. The reason, by the way, that we are focusing on microeconomics is so that when you get into the exam room, this is going to be the question that you do choose. So when we're preparing for paper 1, what we did was we focused on macroeconomics, and then we added some more knowledge here and there for economic pursuits to be able to answer the questions in section A and in question 4 of section B. But otherwise, everything else, we knew that we were going into the exam with the aim of choosing the questions on macroeconomics. So with that same strategy, in this paper 2, you are going into the examination room with they aim at microeconomics questions. So that is, in section B, you are going to choose question 2 and question 4, because you know that in question 2, all of it is microeconomics, and question 4 is divided between microeconomics and contemporary economic issues. So the knowledge on contemporary economic issues, we have already talked about. You're going to research it to be able to bridge those gaps. But most generally, you are going to focus on microeconomics. So what do you study for microeconomics to be able to master the topic with the time that you have left? Number 1 is the characteristics of markets. So all of those markets, you need to know their characteristics. By characteristics, we basically mean the things that make them different. So meaning the number of firms, the type of products they produce, the barriers to entry, or rather the information that is being given. All of those things are what we mean by the characteristics. The reason for that is that when you write an essay on market structures, the essay is basically requiring you to write about the characteristics of a specific market structure. So if you know all of the characteristics, that would also mean you are ready to write an essay on literally any one of them. And then on top of that, you add the interpretation of graphs. Now, the reason why I choose that you focus on microeconomics rather than contemporary economic issues, even though you can clearly see that contemporary economic issues is an easier topic, is because of the graphs. Now, if you walk into the exam room having decided that you're going to focus on contemporary economic issues and that's what you study, what are you then going to do when it comes to the issue of graphs? Because graphs are not a thing that you can answer from general knowledge. Inflation, you can answer from general knowledge, but interpretation of graphs is not something you can do from general knowledge. So that's why you need to use this weekend to study the interpretation of your graphs. And then on top of that, you're going to then study and prepare a market failure essay, just in case they give you an essay on market failure. With contemporary economic issues, remember that what you are aiming to be able to answer is the bits that are going to show up in section A, which is compulsory. So you need to be able to answer those bits. And if you choose question 4, you need to be able to answer the part that relates to contemporary economic issues. Now, when it comes to contemporary economic issues, the only reason I would take a chance and feel confident not to focus most of my energy on it is because it's contemporary economic issues, meaning that they are issues that we normally deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that's inflation, tourism, and the environment. So you are just building on the knowledge that you already have. You're just building on the general knowledge that you already have. Most of you already have an idea of what inflation is. So what you're just doing this weekend is just trying to refine. If I had to put it as an explanation on paper, what would I say? If I had to define tourism on paper, what would I say? It doesn't have to be perfect textbook explanation. That's not what the examiner is looking for, I would argue, but he's looking for your understanding. Do you understand what tourism is? Do you understand why we need the environment to be sustainable, or we need to practice economic activities that leaves environmental sustainability? So be able to define and explain those terms, and then also know the effects. So sometimes you may know the effects, but you may not know how to put it on paper. So that's also what you're looking at. That's why I'm saying that you are researching this topic. You are researching how to converse in it, how to put it on paper, right? Most of the things that as you study it, you will realize that they're the things that you already know. And I want you to lean on that fact that you already know these things. You already know these things from general knowledge, from what you hear on the news, from what you just hear in everyday conversations when they're talking about the prices of petrol going up, right? So you need to you're just building on it. You're building on the effects, how to put the effects on paper, and then also you're looking at how to promote the good side of them and how to combat the negative side of them. So things like inflation, we are trying to combat, whereas with tourism, we're trying to promote. To have YouTube recommend you more of my videos, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below.